Hey guys, Natalia Schneimler here. I help boy moms have a better relationship with their sons and themselves by teaching them the tools how to manage their mind so that when anything comes up in life, they know exactly how to take care of themselves and their kids.
How's it going? I want to propose to you to think about some rules that you have in your life that are suffocating you, that are no longer serving you. Maybe they did serve you in the beginning when you adopted them, but maybe they no longer serve you. And I want you to think about them and how, if you're struggling somewhere in your life and you're really struggling finding motivation or dreading something or are not or procrastinating, is maybe because you have a rule that makes you either dreaded or you feel guilty not following that rule, which really suffocates the actual desire for you to do that thing. For example, right, if you want to exercise but you feel guilty that you haven't exercised in a week, then that guilt and that feeling of procrastination can actually make you not want to go exercise. So I'm going to give you a couple examples from my recent life where I am freeing myself from these rules. And please, while you listen, think of what rules that you have that are really suffocating you. So I have a tennis example and a podcast example and a food example. So I'm going to start with the podcast one I recently have broken out of, which was actually very, 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 hard for me because I love my podcast. I love you guys. I love creating for you. And I have been recording every week for 4 years straight. And that was my rule, that I have to, no matter what, record and publish every week on Wednesdays. And sometimes I pre-record 8 or a bunch of episodes and I pre-publish them, and then I don't have to do it every week. I used to do that in summers. This summer I did not do that, and this summer I just decided I'll do it week by week, which was actually did not work for me. By the end of summer I was so busy with the kids and so tired that I really couldn't get myself to a place of recording and publishing. And I felt so terrible about it. But at the same time, I really wanted a break from having to do this and just having to think of something and to record. And I wasn't in the headspace. So I did it. I did not record. I did not publish. And I felt terrible because of the rule in my head. Even though I did not do it, I still kept the rule in my head, and I felt bad. I felt like I feel guilty for not doing it. I felt ashamed for not finding the time. I felt like I'm procrastinating, and I just kept dragging the heavy weight around with me over and over and over for weeks and I really was working on it at the same time to really give myself permission to not have to record every week and to let go of the fear that I'm not going to record, but to give myself trust that I will record in my own time when I feel good, when I find the time, when I just get a break from life, from running the kids all summer. And that was hard. So going from fear to trusting that everything's going to work out fine, that was the work that I had to do. And that's what we all will have to do when we let go of some of these arbitrary rules that we create for ourselves. Because these rules are coming out of fear sometimes when we just can't let go. We're like, no, I just have to keep on going. Otherwise, everything's going to fall apart. And I'm going to never record, or I'm going to never exercise, or something terrible. We're afraid that something terrible will happen, so we just hang on to these rules as comfort blankets. But the place on the other side is the place of freedom, where you accept the worst case scenario and you have to make peace. For example, I had to make peace. Okay, fine, I'll never record. I had to make peace with it to gain the freedom. And as soon as I gained peace with it and gave myself time to rest and not feel guilty, not feel like I'm procrastinating, then I found that rest and I found my desire came back instantly. I kept collecting ideas over this period of time of all the things I want to talk to you guys about. And I was fresh with a desire, no heavy weight, no guilt, no procrastination. And now I'm approaching this more with trust for myself, more trust for life and universe that everything will be all right. Even if I don't record, you will be fine. If I record at a different time, you will be fine. And that is a huge step when you let go of some of the rules you've been holding on to. The other rule I had was for tennis, and it was, to me now, it seems silly, so I took lessons for 6 years straight, and I decided in my head, I thought that I have to keep taking lessons in order to keep my level of tennis. Otherwise, I will lose it and lose all of it. Which, when I really thought about it, I decided that that's not actually true. Even if I just never took another lesson again, my options are I can believe that my tennis is going to stay the same level of tennis, or I'm actually going to get actually better just by playing it with friends, which feels a lot better than believing that I have to take these lessons to stay at this level or get better. So I really was so burdened by these lessons, I started to hate them. I started to take them, I was treating it as a job. I didn't want to go to this job. I just did not, I had like this struggling relationship with it again because of this rule in my head that I decided that I have to keep taking them. Until I really kind of laid it all out, what was in my head, saw this rule, questioned it, and found out that it's fine. I can live without this rule, and actually, it's actually even better. I can feel better, I can play, I don't have to take lessons. It's totally made up. For me, back then, it felt like the truth. Same with the podcast. It felt like this is the only way I have to record. And the tennis, I have to go to lessons. Until I really questioned it. And it takes a while for you to, a process for you to question the rules. It doesn't just happen in a day. It can, sometimes it's wonderful. But sometimes it can be weeks. I find it is a process. I put a question to my mind and I feel it developing over the weeks. So I recommend to you to not rush and just really pose the question. How can I bend this rule? How can this be different? How can this be even better without the rule? Now, I love that question because when we find the answer to it, it really is magical. Now, I do believe I'm getting better at tennis just by playing it, and I'm having more fun, and I don't have to take lessons, and I can simply get better by just playing it. And then my mind starts to work in the direction of, okay, how could I have taken this shot better? How did I do this shot? Can I, maybe I can, do this, lean more forward or whatever. Then my mind actually starts to think in a way to make me better. And the other example I had was with food, where I watched a documentary about being vegan, and I have a couple friends who don't eat meat. And in my mind, and I tried going vegan, but the rule that in my head that was shifted was, that rule was I have to eat meat for lunch, or I have to, just having to eat meat. I questioned that rule diving into that world, and now it shifted for me where I don't feel like that's true. I now look at it more loosely as, protein that I can get from all these other things. But the rule itself that was I have to eat meat actually had me eating more meat for my lunch that I wanted to previously, which made me feel heavy and not hungry for dinner. And just because that rule was in my head, I just thought, okay, I have to eat protein. And I would just try to eat heavy, like more protein that I needed for lunch. It was just so heavy for me for lunch that I just didn't feel good after it. And now that I've shifted that for myself, and really questioned it and saw that that's not the ultimate truth, but it can be just an option. I love having light lunches. I love having different protein for lunches. And I just love thinking in my head, I don't have to have meat for lunch. I would like to have a break from meat. So again, it's just an example, but an example of how the truth that we believe, we don't even realize that we believe it. We just think this is how the world works. It can feel suffocating sometimes and not serve us. And so I just want you to question when something feels heavy, when something feels like a struggle, question yourself and ask yourself, what am I believing is the rule here? And how can I change it for me so it feels better? Whether it's with time or something you have to do or something you can't do, play around with it, and feelings will always guide you and tell you if something feels bad, maybe it doesn't serve you. Okay, guys, I love you all so much. If you want to explore all their rules with me personally, I can definitely help you. You can go to my website, www.coachingnatalia.com. Go to sign up for a free session, and I will see you in Zoom. Love you all. Bye.